What's up, little special Titans at 2 edition. The Titans are 0-1, but I think we're winning because we're on the boat right now. This is the first ever A to Z Sports video.
We are on a boat.
Filmed on a boat.
Last I checked, we're on a boat.
Zach and I have been wanting to do this for years, and it's just taken a long time, taken 8 years before we have a show on a boat. But I'm Austin Stanley with Sam Phelan. We're here on the Nashville water taxi, the best new way to get to Nissan Stadium. If your parking lot is now gone, because it's under dirt and construction for the new stadium, and you need to figure out how the heck am I going to get to the game against the Jets on Sunday for the home opener, or maybe the Packers in week 3, the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com is where to go. We're about to talk about this Bears game. Sam, you're fresh off the flight, the airport from Chicago. You haven't yet talked about Will Levis's pick 6 to lose the game at the end, but if you want to get here for week 2, the home opener against the Jets, you just need to go to the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. It's $15 to park on their lot, on their property, if you pre-book, and then $20 a person there and back. So you'll go to Nissan Stadium, watch the game, and then they'll bring you back to your car after the game is over. There's so many different tailgate options they're going to build into this as well. So the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com is where to get started. Sam, I'll let you start. You covered the game in the stadium. You went into the locker room. The Titans are 0-1. What's your biggest takeaway from the entire experience?
Yeah, I think, multiple things can be true. And what I mean by that is it was a disaster for the Titans in Chicago. It was a disastrous second half. Will Levis did not play well in this game. He was very bad. The offense as a whole, they had about 55 yards of total offense. Yeah. Every single possession they had in the second half was either a 3-and-out or a turnover, right, Austin. So that was kind of the story for Tennessee on offense. That can be true, and we can also not overreact to week 1 for me. Okay. And we cannot overreact to week 1 for a couple of reasons, and one of which being one of the points that I have asserted over the last few weeks, Austin, which is I believe that Chicago Bears team is a very good football team. They have a very good, talented defense, one of the better defenses in the NFL, they led the NFL in turnovers last year as a defensive unit. They were one of the better teams in scoring per game in the second half. It's not a surprise to see the Bears come out and have a very strong defensive effort, especially in week 1. Unders around the league, probably a pretty, or just sloppy football. I mean,
passing numbers were awful across the whole NFL.
So the Bears played an ugly game. The Titans played an ugly game. I think it was two teams that, like I said, what was my prediction for the Titans coming in? The offensive performance would kind of be led by the running game, led by Tony Pollard. Maybe some underwhelming figures in passing volume. I think it was a bad game for Will Levis, but I don't put all the blame on Will Levis for this game. I think, the Bears made some really good plays on defense, on special teams especially. I think the offensive line for Tennessee was pretty atrocious in the second half of the game. And the play calling wasn't my favorite either. So I think there's a lot of ways that we could direct blame in a blame pie, not just on Will Levis. So it was bad.
Well,
it was bad.
Yes.
But this does not affect the way that I view Will Levis or the Titans moving forward. It was a game that I expected them to lose kind of in this fashion.
Yeah, you picked the Titans to go 9-8 and barely missed the playoffs, as did I. And you had them losing this game.
My final score prediction for this game, 26-17. Final score was 24-17.
And mine was 24-20. So both really close. We both, right around a couple points off of that prediction. I just think, and I've talked about this in the post-game show with Easton and Monday morning with Zach on the A to Z morning show, that it's the one play by Will Levis was so catastrophic that I have to put more of the blame on him, because if you just take the sack, maybe the Titans win 17-16, or maybe the Titans lose 19-17, and there's a lot of other conversations going around. But the inexcusable pick 6 that he threw, just eat the football. That's a dumb football decision. We all know that. He knows that. That's why I think there's so much weight is going on number 8 for losing this football game.
Yeah, I get that, right? The pick 6 is really bad. I don't think I view it as bad of a decision as some people out there might.
Oh,
and here's why. Will Levis is not attempting to complete that ball. He is not attempting to complete the pass. he's trying to get the ball out of bounds, and in theory, is the correct decision. Now, the way that Will Levis is going to have to grow throughout this year is being able to discern and understand when his physical ability is not going to be able to carry him through a play.
Sure.
I think Will had this idea in his mind in this moment where, yes, he's being sacked by DeMarcus Walker. He does not want to punt the ball away to the Bears and doesn't want to take the Titans all the way, backwards there. And so he tries to get the ball out of bounds to keep the drive alive, to keep things going for Tennessee. And what he needs to realize is sometimes it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
But I think, a moment like that, I think, is so much more fixable and correctable than a guy who's reading the field poorly, not understanding that he cannot make, all of these different throws. That's just hey, all right, maybe don't risk that there in that spot, which is why it doesn't bother me that much. Inexcusable play, horrible play, cost the Titans the game in that play, but I don't believe, I have confidence in saying Will Levis will not make that same mistake for the rest of this season.
I don't have that confidence. I think Will Levis is going to do some stupid things like this. He's been doing it because he was at Kentucky and he felt like he had to do everything in order for Kentucky to compete at a high level. But
there is some element of the situation the Titans put him in that Will Levis felt like he had to do some special stuff.
But
yesterday.
He doesn't.
I mean, but we've had this conversation throughout the offseason. But does Will Levis? You say he doesn't, but he did, because the way that Brian Callahan and this Titans offense set up Will Levis was exactly what we saw from the Titans offense in training camp so often. We're going to dink and dunk. We're going to take the high percentage look. Yeah. Well, those high percentage looks were 2-yard, 3-yard, 4-yard completions, and the Bears defense was letting them have it.
And the Bears defense tackled really well. There was
right, and so what are you going to do? You're playing a good defense. The Bears have a good defense that is tackling very well, that made an adjustment in the second half to defend the run better.
Yeah.
Well, you have to make an adjustment as a play caller and an offense to not just take high percentage dink and dunk passes that are resulting in 4th downs and you punting the ball away.
Sure.
Eventually you have to take some shots and
he missed it.
This pressure starts to build on a quarterback to, you have to be exceptional because you just managing this football game, right? Throughout 2.5 quarters of that game, I was saying to myself, Will Levis hasn't been all that good today, but he's managing the game well enough for the Titans to win. And then it became, but then it wasn't even the fact that Will wasn't managing well enough for them to win. It was the Titans weren't playing well enough to win anymore.
Yeah.
Your special teams let you down. You were starting to manage an offense that was giving the ball back to the Bears, and they were making kick returns and punt returns that put them in position to get points. And 17-0 became 17-10, 17-13, 17-16. Pressure mounted. He forced and tried to make a play or tried to just keep a drive alive with something exceptional and learned his lesson, in my opinion. So I don't think this will be something that bites him in the foot again.
Fair enough. I want to pause you here because we're robbing the audience of the view that I have, and you don't even have this view. So scoot over to that corner. Scoot to that corner because this is what we're doing here with the Nashville Water Taxi.
Yeah, turn it even more.
Yeah, turn it even more.
And I got to just say, the view on the phone right now really does not do justice to the view that we have with our eyes, which is typically the case with photo and video. You can see the Nashville skyline behind us here as we are on the Nashville Water Taxi here, heading towards Nissan Stadium. And this might be, for a while I have said that driving into the city from East Nashville, Austin, on Shelby, I believe, is my favorite view of downtown Nashville. I think this is my new favorite view of downtown Nashville, sitting here on this boat.
It's pretty good. And this helps my hair because now my hair is not hitting the wind and I don't have to keep playing with it as we keep talking. So the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com is where to go. You can pre-book and save money. If you pre-book, it's $15 to park your car at their lot, and then it's $20 a person to do exactly what we're doing right now. 10 to 15 minutes down the river to the stadium, go in, watch the game, and then boom, all the way back to your car. You don't have to deal with downtown traffic. So the perfect opportunity to enjoy. They also have tailgating opportunity at their property at the Pontoon Saloon and Nashville Water Taxi right here. So the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com is where to go for all this information. for week 2 against the Jets. And then you got week 3 against the Packers. So back-to-back home games here in September where the weather should be great. Fingers crossed on that one. So
there is not going to be a better flex than going to the Titans game, and you might see some of your Titans fan friends at the game, and Titans win over Green Bay. Everybody's getting ready to celebrate, and you get ready to head out to the cars, right? And then there's this feeling of, I'm going to have to sit in my car for 30 minutes exiting Nissan Stadium.
Might be a lot longer than that.
Maybe an hour, right?
Yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah.
And then you get to look at your friend and you get to go,
I'm getting on a boat. Yes.
You're parked in the lot. You have to go walk to your car and then wait an hour. Oh, I'm just going to go get on a boat, go get a great view of the city, go down the river and get to my car with no traffic.
I noticed how you said a win against the Packers and you skipped over the Jets game.
I'm looking forward to the Malik Willis in town.
Yeah,
I'm already getting a little bit elated for that one.
All right, so back to the Bears conversation. So you said Will Levis is not the most to blame. Like
I don't know if he's the most to blame. I just think I think there is this idea right now, right? And this is how sports fans work. I understand this is how sports fans work. Everything is taken in extremes, and we are taking Will Levis's poor performance in Chicago as he is the reason they lost, and this is the problem moving forward. Now, I will give you this. What did we say coming into the year? The most important thing for the Titans in 2024 is the performance of Will Levis. That is your biggest question. It is your biggest variable. That is the thing you want answers on, and it got off to a very rough start. But I just think so much else went wrong, and because there was the pick 6, it almost excused how horrible they were on special teams. It almost excused how bad the offensive line was. Will Levis was the second most pressured quarterback in the NFL in week 1, and J.C. Latham had a really rough time in his NFL debut. So those would have been more relevant storylines, and then the pick 6 happens, which kind of excuses it. I just don't want to excuse it. I want to acknowledge the fact that you played a good football team on the road, you played a really good defense, you had problems all over the field, and it resulted in a loss in week 1, but that doesn't mean you don't right the ship a little bit.
I gave 70% of blame to Levis because the one play lost in the game. I gave 20% to the special teams, and the rest I put on Brian Callahan because I didn't think that he did the best job adjusting. And he said in both of his press conferences since the game ended that he thought that the Bears did a really good job of throwing different things at him defensively to ruin some of the success they had in the first half where they were able to put up points on the board. So how do you feel about Brian Callahan's performance in his head coaching debut?
You know, I think there are challenges with this where Brian Callahan did not call a very good game, did not coach a very good game. The Titans were undisciplined in this game. They had a lot of penalties that were untimely penalties. Yeah. They had what I thought was kind of foot off the gas play calling a lot of the time, not taking significant shots down the field, a lot of dink and dunk passing. They had a lot of run plays for negative yards, and I know you pointed out some, you weren't very pleased with how Treylon Burks was being used all the time on some end arounds.
What do you think about that? Because I don't understand why they want to use Treylon Burks on end arounds. It didn't work under Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
It worked for one play for 6 yards, and then they lost 5 yards the next time they tried it. He's not quick enough or agile enough. I could argue if they did that with Calvin Ridley on the first 6-yard gain, Calvin would have picked up 9. And I just don't think it's the same way I feel about the Derrick Henry toss play. They're not the right style of athlete to run that play. Derrick Henry doesn't do the toss very well, and Burks doesn't do the end around very well.
There is nothing more dangerous, I think, for me, a more frustrating play call than outside runs at the worst time possible.
Yeah, they don't work.
Well, outside runs are a feast or famine type of play. I mean, that you run an outside run, something, a toss play, an end around, anything like this, trying to hit an explosive is really what you're trying to do. The risk is that if it's not well blocked or it's sniffed out really early, you end up with a loss of yards. The Bears sniffed out a lot of those outside runs in the second half and resulted in a loss of yards for the Titans. I don't mind it if it's done in the right spots, but what I felt like is that the Titans were almost relying on it in Sunday's game, on these toss plays, these end arounds, these short check down passes to bail them out of situations. And when you play a good defense like the Bears with two good linebacks in TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds who can tackle very well, when you've got a nickel like Kyler Gordon who is a hard-hitting, downhill sort of tackler, it's kind of hard to make those plays work a lot of the time. So I didn't love the play calling, and that's how I come back to Brian Callahan and say, I will withhold judgment from Brian Callahan because it was his first game and there are growing pains to this. I think he was hurt by the fact that their offensive line underperformed. The offensive line let up way too many tackles for loss against the run. They let up a couple of sacks and a couple of QB pressures that I think really hurt their passing game and created 2 turnovers at least with the strip sack and the pick 6. So Callahan said he had trouble getting into rhythm as a play caller because they didn't get into much rhythm as an offense.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
The concern of that is, hey, as the head coach, as the play caller, it's your job to call something that gets you in a rhythm. If it's not working, try something different and figure out what you need to do. But it was game 1, and the same way Chicago Bears fans should not react to a really bad performance from Caleb Williams in his debut, the same way I think Titans fans should not fully overreact to a bad day for Will Levis in his first game of the year, knowing that he's a young quarterback who has started only 10 games in the NFL. I cannot overreact to Brian Callahan's coaching debut, but Austin, if we're sitting here 2 weeks from now after a Jets and a Packers game and the Titans offense is still really struggling to get something going momentum-wise, you're going to have to turn and look at the head coach and wonder what's going on here.
Well, it's either that or it's the quarterback. You're looking at the quarterback or the head coach if they're sitting there really struggling. As you see Nissan Stadium coming in at our background.
There it is.
Floating down the Cumberland on the Nashville Water Taxi, the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. So, Sam, as we wrap up this segment here, we wanted to give you guys the real-life experience of parking at the Nashville Water Taxi property and then floating down the river to and from the game. It would just cost us $55. If we rode together to park there and to go to and from, you're going to pay a lot more in parking one vehicle and walking a long way downtown Nashville. But before we wrap up this segment, there's a lot that was made at the end of last week about you're from the Chicago area.
Sure.
You were back at your home stadium rooting for the team that you grew up with, and you still watch when the Titans are not on TV. How did you feel watching the Bears win?
Yeah.
With Caleb Williams under 100 yards passing, and just from that perspective of both sides of your brain were probably processing a lot of different emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I felt really good about the Bears. I think one staple of being a really good football team in the NFL is being able to win when you play bad, finding a way to put up 24 points. And you know, that's the one thing that I think is different about this Bears team versus situations number 1 overall picks have walked into in the past.
Yeah.
We talked about the stat. Number 1 overall picks 0-14-1 in their NFL debut since 2002. You just got the one win, and Caleb Williams, in a day that he was really, really bad throwing the football, they found a way to win. And so I think Caleb Williams' takeaway from the game was very similar to mine. They asked Caleb Williams, what did you learn about your team from this game? Or what did you learn most from your debut? He said, I just learned how good the team around me is. Like, the fact that we're able to overcome what was really some mistakes from Caleb Williams. He had a couple of opportunities to make offensive X-plays, one touchdown to maybe Roma Dunze, I think it was, early in the game, that he overshot him on. Keenan Allen dropped the touchdown. You almost had an interception on the weird, like, pinball play that Roma Dunze went up and caught that hit off of Quandre Diggs' face mask. There was a lot of, like, bad. As a Bears fan, though, like, I think you have to feel like this offense is going to correct itself, come back to the mean. There's way too much talent on the offense. I think Denard Wilson did a really, really good job with this Titans defense. And that is why Titans fans can also probably rest easy knowing that your defense was awesome. Yes. And your defense brought pressure on the number 1 overall pick, an offense that has 3 very good wide receivers, a talented running back, a really skilled tight end that can both block and catch passes. And you found a way to hold them to really 3 offensive points. The Bears had 1 drive that resulted in points We're going to be seeing a lot more of that out of the Titans this year. So they're going to need it based on the look of things to stay competitive here in this early chunk of the season.
All right, we're here. We made it to Nissan Stadium. It's right there. And so that can be your experience right at 20 minutes of this video.
And this was a shorter boat ride, or a longer boat ride, too.
They gave us the scenic view.
We went slower to get the scenic view.
They knew we had way too many topics.
We are right on the river right now. Like, Broadway is right to our left. The stadium is directly to our right. This is a fantastic view that we've got here pulling up to Nissan Stadium.
All right, you can do this for all of these home games coming up this season. The NashvilleWaterTaxi.com is where to go. We're about to take a little turn here, so maybe you guys will
Broadway's
get a view of
coming
Broadway. But really cool spot because they've blown up a lot of parking lots. A lot of people don't have their tailgate spots. You can tailgate on the property for the Nashville Water Taxi as well.
You can try to park at your own risk, but when you have issues with parking, you're going to remember watching this video and you're going to say, yep, they warned me. They told me I was going to have parking trouble. Get rid of the parking trouble. The Nashville Water Taxi. That's the way to do it.
All right, that's it for Titans at 2. Sam, you'll be back for Titans at 2 on Thursday, probably from the facility.
Yep.
And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on a Tuesday morning. I appreciate you guys. Once again, it's in the description, the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. Go pre-book. It's better for you if you pre-book, the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com.